Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram.
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Devsiti Mataji, when are you ready? Can start, Mataji.
Hare Krishna to all the assembled Vaishnavas. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamadiraye Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtike. Reading today from chapter 6, Creation of the Universal Form, continuing from text 28. The demigods, qualified by the super excellent quality of the mode of goodness, are situated in the heavenly planets, whereas the human beings, because of their nature in the mode of passion, live on the earth in company with their subordinates. Text 29. Living entities who are associates of Rudra develop in the third mode of material nature or ignorance. They are situated in the sky between the earthly planets and the heavenly planets. Text 30. O chief of the Kuru dynasty, the Vedic wisdom became manifested from the mouth of the Virat, the gigantic form. Those who are inclined to this Vedic knowledge are called Brahmanas, and they are the natural teachers and spiritual masters of all the orders of society. Text 31. After the power of protection was generated from the arms of the gigantic Virat form, and in relation to such power, the Kshatriyas also came into existence by following the Kshatriya principle of protecting society from the disturbance of thieves and miscreants. Text 32. The means of livelihood of all persons, namely production of grains and their distribution to the prajas, was generated from the ties of the Lord's gigantic form. The mercantile men who take advantage of such execution are called Vaishyas. Text 33. Thereafter service was manifested from the legs of the personality of Godhead for the sake of perfecting the religious function. Situated on the legs are the Sudras, who satisfy the Lord by service. Text 34. All these different social divisions are born with their occupational duties and living conditions from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, for unconditional life and self-realization, one has to worship the Supreme Lord under the direction of the spiritual master. Text 35. O Vidura, who can estimate or measure the transcendental time, work, and potency of the gigantic form manifested by the internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Text 36. In spite of my inability, whatever I have been able to hear from the spiritual master and whatever I could assimilate, I am now describing in glorification of the Lord by pure speech, for otherwise my power of speaking will remain unchaste. Text 37. The highest perfectional gain of humanity is to engage in discussions of the activities and glories of the pious actor. Such activities are so nicely arranged in writing by the greatly learned sages that the actual purpose of the air is served just by being near them. Text 38. O my son, the original poet, Brahma, after mature meditation for 1,000 celestial years, could know only that the glories of the Supreme Soul are inconceivable. Text 39. The wonderful potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is bewildering even to the jugglers. That potency is unknown even to the self-sufficient Lord, so it is certainly unknown to others. Text 40. Words, mind, and ego, with their respective controlling demigods, have failed to achieve success in knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, we simply have to offer respectful obeisances unto him as a matter of sanity. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 3rd canto, 6th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Creation of the Universal Form. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah. Himanshu Prabhu, whenever you're ready, you can start, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I'm not able to share my screen, Prabhu.
I'll make you co-host now, Prabhu. You can say it. Thank you.
That will be helpful, Prabhu.
Yeah, if you're comfortable, you can start your video also, Prabhuji.
Sure, Prabhuji. Okay, Prabhuji, let me see if I'm able to share my screen, right? Prabhuji, is database is visible, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Is my video visible, Prabhuji? I'm not sure.
Yeah, we can see you, Prabhuji. Yes.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Let me invoke the prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Tasmina Tasmi Shri Gurve Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavati Paschati Deshatani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotee. Thank you so much for joining the morning Bhagavatam class. So today we are going to discuss from Canto 3, Chapter 6, the last section from verse 28 to 40. Creation of the Universal Form is the name of the chapter. In this chapter, we have seen so far how gigantic form Virat Rupa came into existence, how Lord has provided his binding force, basically to enliven all the Mahatattva material elements, all 23 elements, and then how the demigods came, or different speech, eyes, taste, touch, everything, smell, power of smell came into existence from the different controlling deities, or like respectively like Agni, Varuna, Ashwini, Kumara for smell. All those things has come into the existence. And in the last verse, what we have read, the how heavenly earth and sky manifested, correct, from the different part of the body. Basically, heavenly planet came from the head of the body of the Virat Rupa, and then from the legs, earthly planet came, and from his abdomen or waist area, the sky manifested between the heavenly planet and the earthly planet. Now in the text 28, in today's verse, what we're going to read, what Maitreya is saying, demigod, who are demigod? Demigod are those living entities who are overpowered or empowered by the mode of goodness, while human being, a living entity, are those who are overpowered by the mode of passion. And so based on their modes, they got their destination, respective destinations. So those entities who are having a mode of goodness, they are situated into the heavenly planet, while earthly planets are all situated by the human beings, and they are in mode of passion. So in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada has given the reference in the purport. In Bhagavad Gita, it's also mentioned based on the mode, like, a person is in mode of passion or ignorance, and he's situated currently in the earthly planet. But based on, if he, eventually get the mode of goodness by following some practices, then he can also get into the, situated into the heavenly planets in the next life. That is also possible. And the person who is in the heavenly planet or, living being, they can get degraded to, earthly planet, or from earthly planet, we can degrade it to the hellish planet. That is all possible. So, but those who are surcharged with the mode of ignorance, the people who are in the mode of ignorance, tamoguna, correct? They definitely degraded to the lower planet. So now we need to understand, for Krishna consciousness, if we want to have a decent progress in our Krishna consciousness, there are some prerequisites. The junction of prerequisite is the mode of goodness. If we don't have a mode of goodness, we can't have a substantial progress in our bhakti life. Mode of goodness is our kind of, I would say, starting point. Like suppose new person joined the bhakti or Vaishnava life, and he is full of mode of passion and ignorance. But eventually, when he followed the process of bhakti, Krishna consciousness under the guidance of a spiritual master and senior devotees, the purification starts from the day one. And then as the purification happened, the other modes will, prominence will reduce, and then the mode of goodness will activate. And then once the person is come to the mode of goodness platform, then the devotional life and practices have a great growth afterwards. In the text 29, what Maitreya is saying about how the living entities who are, mode of ignorance, that means Rudra. Rudra means the destruction, it's the name of the Lord Shiva as well, appear in the material nature. And where they appear? They appear between the sky, between the heavenly planet and into the earthly planet. And that place is called Bhuvarloka, basically. Bhuvarloka, that is confirmed by the, I think, Jiva Goswami and also Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that place is called Bhuvarloka. And living entity are distributed in the different loka based on their qualities. If person is overpowered by the mode of goodness, they will definitely be the demigod planet rather than into the earthly planet. And person who is mode of passion, he will definitely be in the earthly planet, and vice versa. Like, if person is with the lower qualities, he will go to the hellish planet. In the text 30, what Maitreya is saying, basically the crux here is qualification of a real Brahmana in this verse, what we'll understand, of spiritual master. Here Maitreya is saying how Vedic wisdom comes from the mouth, from the Virat Rupa. When the Vedic wisdom comes from the mouth of the Virat Rupa, and those who are inclined to that kind of knowledge are called Brahmana. And those Brahmana are, the purpose of the Brahmanas in our society is to teach. They are the gurus or spiritual master of the society. As we know, we have four varnas: Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Shudras. And every varna has a different set of duties for them. And they all come from the different part of the body of the Virat Rupa. As we know, Brahmana came from the head of the Virat Rupa. Kshatriya came, next verse we'll read, like Kshatriya came from the arm, and Vaishya came from the waist, and Shudra came from the leg of the Virat Rupa. And as in our own body, we don't discriminate between the mouth, arm, leg, and waist. Similarly, but yeah, we know that there is one can live without leg or without arm, but one cannot live long cannot live even without a head. He will die immediately. So definitely Brahmanas are important in our society, and because real Brahmanas are those who are, dedicate their life into the reading the Shastra, get the Gyan of the Shastra, do the service of the Lord, and also propagate that knowledge to the other class of the society. Correct. So that's where the Brahmana. So now Shudra and Vaishya. So Brahmana, we need to understand it's not a birthright. It's based on the qualification and qualities of a person. That's where he can get the Brahmana. Brahmana can be a Shudra. Shudra can be a Brahmana if he qualifies. He had the qualities of the Brahmanical quality. But a same way, Brahmana doesn't have a Brahmanical quality. Correct. He doesn't have a quality. Then definitely he will not be called a Brahmana. So Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport, Vedic wisdom is not limited to any particular caste, correct? Based on the birthright. It's based on the qualification. Now we need to understand who is the real Brahmana, correct? What is the qualification of real Brahmana? So we have all Brahmana cannot be a Vaishnava or a spiritual master, while in the other way around, all spiritual master will be a Brahmana. Because there could be a Brahmana who is inclined to all impersonalism, correct? And he has a good Shastric knowledge, but he doesn't believe in the form of the Lord, correct? There could be such Brahmana. And those Brahmana cannot be a spiritual master, but for being a Vaishnava or a spiritual master, the primary prerequisite quality has to be a Brahmana, because that's why we have a sanskar, like Brahman initiation, correct? Now in the purport, Chaitanya Charitamrita, the verse reference is there. Kibe vipra kibe nyasi shudre ki nenaya yehi Krishna tatva veta shehi guru haya. In this verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, whether it's a Brahmana, Vipra means Brahmana, or whether it's a sannyasi, or it could be Shudra, the real qualification of a person to be a spiritual master, he should have a real understanding of the science of Krishna consciousness. If a person has a qualification and a real understanding of Krishna consciousness, then only that person is a real Brahmana or a spiritual master. So, and that spiritual master should be from the bona fide sampradaya. In text 31, Maitreya Muni is explaining how Kshatriya came, correct, into the existence. They come from the arm of the gigantic form. And the principle of the Kshatriya is to provide the protection from the disturbance in the society, from any miscreants or thieves, correct? All the living beings are being called as a Purusha as well, but they are not a real Purusha. They are the Parashakti of the original Purusha or Supreme Personality of Godhead. As we know, we have three deities, like Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, correct? Brahma ji is doing the activity based on his mode. That is mode of passion. That's why he's doing the creation. Vishnu ji is he's a protector or maintainer of all the society, all the world, universe. And Lord Shiva is a maintainer. He's a maintainer by Lord Shiva is doing the destruction because he's in the mode of ignorance, and the Vishnu ji is in mode of the goodness. Based on their mode, they are doing their activity. That's how Kshatriya are in our society are expected to provide the protection to all the other classes like Brahmana, Vaishya, and Shudra. Similarly, Brahmanas are in our classes are gain the knowledge. They are not involved in any kind of duty. They are present in so that they can provide the guidance to the other three classes of the society. Now for Kshatriya, we have a great example in our Shastra of Maharaj Yudhishthira and Maharaj Parikshit. We don't have any great Kshatriya emperor than that, because we have heard in the last canto how Maharaj Parikshit, when he heard that there is a cow and bull is being troubled by the Kali, then how he prepare himself to kill the Kali, correct? And then Kali vanished from his kingdom because he got scared. So we need to, now in a modern society, we don't have a real Kshatriya. The reason being, we don't have a real Brahmana who will teach the society with the Vedas and Shastric Gyan. And our modern society is over-influenced by the Vaishyas and the Shudras. And that's why I would say, we are not getting the protection from our elected president, while we need to take the protection from our insurance company for our life. We don't get the protections from our elected president. So that's what Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport, that what I like here. In text 32, Maitreya Muni is telling how, Vaishya or mercantile class comes into the existence. They come from the Lord thighs, correct? And what is their purpose? Their purpose is to do the agriculture production and distribution. Correct? That's how the mercantile class is meant for. And then Prabhupada has mentioned several times in their purport and in their lecture, for a human being, only a piece of land, agriculture land, and a cow is sufficient to live happily the livelihood. There is no other need, no luxury needed. If a person having a piece of land where he can do the agriculture activity and a cow where he can get the milk and milk product, then he can live his life happily. Now, if we'll summarize, we have discussed till now Brahmanical people, Brahmanas, Vaishya, and Kshatriya. And Brahmanas are spiritual master, can act as a spiritual master and teacher as a real Brahmana, and Kshatriya provide the protection to all the other three classes, and Vaishyas are mercantile class who do the production and distribution of the agriculture items. Now, in the next verse, text 33, we will understand the importance of serving attitude. Because in the next verse, 33 verse, Maitreya Muni is telling how the Shudras are manifested, correct? From the legs of the Virat Rupa. And as we know, Shudras are less intelligence class, correct? So their prime responsibility is to serve either the three class of the society and also the serving the lotus feet of the Lord, correct? So as we need to understand, we are the part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, correct? And the real nature of the soul is to do the service. If we are doing the service, that's a real nature. Either one person can do either two things. Either he will serve the Lord or the devotees of the Lord. Or otherwise, what he will do, he will serve his own senses under the influence of the material energy or under the influence of the three modes, correct? So one person can do the serving his senses and trying to satisfy, he will work day and night to satisfy his own senses and his family need. And he is not worried about, serving the lotus feet of the Lord or, serving the scripture. But at the other hand, a devotee will always, dedicate his time to serve the lotus feet or serving the Prabhupada mission, serve the devotee, serve the temple, and, he will dedicate all his time into serving activity of mission of the Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, the real constitutional occupation of all living entities is service. Without service, there is no existence actually. It's all false existence, I would say. It is, and it's mentioned in the purport, it's actually better to be Shudra rather than a Brahmana if Brahmana doesn't have a service attitude. And even Lord will be more happy if a person doesn't have all of these four class quality, but he has only a service attitude. Because Lord, eventually he looks at the service attitude, how eagerly devotee is trying to serve the Lord and trying to please the Lord and trying to please the devotee of the Lord. That's the way the human being can be perfected in their life. And I think in the next verse, 34, Maitreya Muni is talking about how the four social divisions are born and with their occupational duties and living condition, they came. Correct. But now, what to do for the self-realization? Now the question is what to do. So that's what Maitreya Muni is saying. Now for the self-realization, one has to worship the Lord under the guidance of the spiritual master. Now, the actual position in the purport, Prabhupada has mentioned, the actual position of the conditioned soul, because it's very impure. Because soul, as the person is born, the material modes of nature, start acting on that person, three modes of material nature. And for being purification, the person needs the guidance of the spiritual master. Correct? And then in the Bhagavad Gita, it's mentioned, Bahunam Janmanam Ante after many birth or death, a person only surrender to me. Lord says, a person surrender to him after a many birth. And then he understand that the Lord is the only cause of all causes. And then Lord mentioned that such a great soul is very rare. So Maitreya Muni is mentioning here, for purification process, worship the Lord under the guidance of the spiritual master is the only way to get the purification. If we worship the Lord under the instruction of the master, spiritual master, that is the way we can get the purification. In text 35, now what Maitreya Muni is said, like he's not qualified because Lord, to describe the Lord qualities, because Lord qualities are inconceivable. Lord potencies and opulences are inconceivable to describe. And he is not qualified. Even he mentioned, even Brahma is not qualified. He sometimes, get bewildered. And Lord Krishna sometimes himself can't estimate his own potency. There is a description in the following verses that Lord Krishna can't estimate his own potential, his own appearance. He gets surprised from his own potencies. So in Bhagavad Gita, we have a reference how Arjuna cannot see the universal form when he requested. Then being a devotee, Arjuna is a pure devotee of the Lord. Even a devotee cannot see the Lord form, and Lord gave him the transcendental vision, temporary transcendental vision, so that he can visualize. And when he visualized, he got scared because he saw no beginning, no end, 1,000, unlimited mouth, unlimited head, everything is unlimited. He got scared. So what to talk about, Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, froggish philosophy, like the Mayavadis. How can they understand when they are atheistic in nature? They can't understand. So Prabhupada talk about Dr. Frog and froggish philosophy in his verses in purport many times. Like, let's take an example of frog who is living in a well of 3 by 5 meter of well width and breadth. And if we put that same frog into the Pacific Ocean, maybe frog may think from his own experience of well, he can able to measure the width and breadth of the Pacific Ocean. But by doing that process, because he thinks he has done that in the past, and with his mental speculation, he will think he can do that length and breadth measurement of the Pacific Ocean. But by that process, he will die because he cannot, because he doesn't have a service attitude. Thinks about that frog is nothing but a materialistic people who doesn't have a service attitude, who doesn't have a knowledge of Krishna. They always think Krishna as a human, because the Krishna also has 2 hands, 2 legs, and 2 eyes, correct? They think him as a human platform because they are atheistic in nature. They don't understand the glories and potencies of the Lord and energy of the Lord. They always think Krishna on the same platform of the human platform. And then whenever they think like, okay, whenever they heard about any Leela, what Krishna performed, they always think, okay, Damodar Leela or Govardhan Leela. They always think like, Putna Leela, any demon killing. They think, oh, these are all mythology. There's nothing true. We can't consider that as a truth. So when devotee cannot understand the Lord potencies and glories in the fullness, then how can we talk about the froggish philosopher or Mayavadi here? In Brahma Samhita, Brahmaji prayer is there. It's very beautiful, which I want to say. Advaitam Akshutam Anandam Ananta Rupam Adyam Purusha Purusham Navayovanam Cha. So here Brahmaji is saying Akshutam means no decay, no deterioration. Anandim means no beginning, correct? And Ananta Rupam means no end. He is endless. Adyam means beginning. Puranam Purusha means the oldest ancient person. But then Brahmaji said Navayovanam. Navayovanam means still he has a blooming youth. And then he said Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakta. Means Vedeshu, if a person has a good knowledge of scripture and he is very scholarly person, but for him to know the Lord and potency of the Lord, glories of the Lord and opulences of the Lord is durlabham, means it's near to inaccessible. But at the same time, Brahmaji is mentioned, adurlabham atma bhakta, means a person who is a devotee of the Lord or devotee of the parampara. For him to know the Lord is adurlabham. He can know me to the based on his qualification if he is a devotee of the Lord. So we need to understand as a crux, only way to understand the Lord and his energy by serving attitude, by devotional service, by submissive hearing of the spiritual master with the bona fide sampradaya and following all the 9 anga of bhakti, then only we can understand the Lord. In text 36, Maitreya Muni is telling what is how to do the utilization. Now we have a power of speech. How we can utilize right speech utilization in the service of the Lord. How can we utilize our speech in the discussion of Krishna Katha, in reading the Shastra, in glorifying the Lord, correct? Glorifying the devotee, correct? Providing a lecture into the temple, in the service of the Lord. The verse is saying, Tathapi kirtayami anga, yathamati yathashrutam. Just give me a minute. Yeah. Tathapi kirtayami anga, yathamati yathashrutam, kirtim hare swam sat krutum, giram anyabhidashitam. Yathamati. Here Maitreya Muni is saying Yathamati. As much as I heard, as much as I assimilate whatever I heard. Yathashrutam means as much as I heard. As much as I could assimilate through my intelligence, as much as I heard through my spiritual master. Kirtim Hari. Kirtim Hari means glories of the Lord. Shram Shat Krutum means that always bring great auspiciousness. Correct? Otherwise, Giram Anyabhida Ashitam means otherwise, wherever we are spending our time to, spending our speech, power of speech, that's all going into unchase. Means we are not using, either one can use his power of speech to for glorification or service of the Lord, or otherwise he will incline into the mundane affairs. So these are the two things the person can spend. So here Maitreya Muni is setting an example how we can do the right utilization of our power of speech to glorify the Lord, glorify the devotee of the Lord, rather than wasting the time in the mundane affairs. And in the purport it's mentioned our knowledge can be incomplete, correct? But if we are getting the knowledge from the right source, means if we are getting the knowledge, hearing the from our spiritual master of the right sampradaya, then our knowledge can be incomplete but cannot be incorrect. So it's not necessary. We should not think ourselves that we are not qualified. Based on our qualification, we should leverage, we should utilize our power of speech for the service of the Lord. We should not think we are not qualified. Maybe we are in the beginning stage, but whatever stage we are, whatever knowledge we have, we should leverage that knowledge into the glorification of the Lord, in the service of the Lord, in the Krishna Katha, in reading, hearing, correct, in all those activities. In explain the glory of the Lord to the other people, correct? Otherwise, if we'll, dedicate our time in all the mundane affairs, talking politics, talking other material thing, then we are wasting our life. So, in the purport, I think I would say the highlight of this purport is Prabhupada has mentioned the existence of the conditioned soul can be purified only by the method of engaging oneself into the service of the Lord. In the text 37, in the next text, let me go back. Okay. Maitreya Muni is saying in text 37, in spite, the crux is hearing about the glory of Krishna is the highest gain. Here, what Maitreya Muni is trying to say. So if we go to the verse, Ekantam Labham, Ekanta Labham, Vachaso na Pumsham, Shushuloka Muler, Gunavadan Ahu. Ekanta Labha, there is the one and only gain, highest perfection gain of the entire human society. Vachaso means discuss. Pumsham means the Lord Krishna, about the Lord Krishna. What about the Lord Krishna? Shushulokamale means pious activities and qualities of the Lord, and Gunavadam means all the glorious pious activities of the Lord. So here, Prabhupada is explaining, like in the previous age, all the great acharyas and people in the previous age, whenever they heard the Krishna Katha and glories of the Krishna from their spiritual master, when they heard as it is, they receive it and they repeat it the same way. But because because of the influence of the Kali Yuga, in the modern people, in the modern society, people doesn't have that much intelligence, that much life. Even everything is short-sighted, short life, short intelligence. Everything is short. So that's why in Kali Yuga, when we have heard in the last canto how Vyasadeva was worried about the people in the Kali Yuga, what will happen to the Kali Yuga folk? That's why our acharyas and the follower disciple succession has written a lot of commentaries in writing, so that the people of the Kali Yuga can get the benefit of that writing, can get the benefit of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the Krishna himself in a literature form. Correct? So ultimate benefit of the human life to absorb their consciousness in the Lord quality in pastime, so they can get associated with the Srimad Bhagavatam and understand the Lord qualities in pastime. There is no other highest gain, only to discuss about the Krishna Katha. And Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport that even if one is not even discussing, but if he is passively hearing that Krishna Katha, he is in the group where someone is discussing the Krishna Katha and he is getting that kind of shruti in his hearing, through his hearing passively. That person can also get the great purification by only hearing, even not actively participating. What to talk about actively participating and discussing about Krishna Katha. Prabhupada also mentioned there is a Tridandi sannyasi. When they take the vow, then they take the vow, and then why it's called Tridandi? Because they take the vow based on their body, mind, and speech. They will always engage all of these body, mind, and speech in the service of the Lord, always. That's where during the sannyas ceremony they take the vow. That's why they call the Tridandi sannyasi. So that's why we need to understand, if we can engage our body, mind, senses, speech in the service of the Lord, that's where the Lord will be more pleased, and our spiritual master will be more pleased with us, our service. That's where we can get substantial progress in our Krishna consciousness, in our bhakti. And then by this process, we can get purified more and more, and we can progress into our bhakti cycle, bhakti life. In the text 38, here Maitreya Muni is giving the example of Brahmaji, how Brahmaji for 1,000 celestial year, he did the meditation, and then even though he can know a very little about the Lord Krishna, correct? He could not understand much. Then what to talk about the jugglers and froggish philosophers, how they can understand? As being atheistic, it's very impossible. Even Lord cannot sometimes get surprised, as I mentioned earlier, like Lord can himself surprise some of his own glories. And he because Lord glories are inconceivable. Whatever our qualification, we should understand and then describe the glory based on our qualification. So in this verse, the Maitreya Muni is stating, only way to know the Lord glory is by reading and serving the Lord, and hearing the glory of the Lord, discussing the glory of the Lord. And because Lord glories are inconceivable, and we need to hear, the only process is submissively hear our spiritual master. Now in text 39, Maitreya Muni is saying, just give me a minute. Text 39, Maitreya Muni is saying how potency of the Lord is sometime even surprising to our self-sufficient Lord, and then it's very difficult for jugglers to understand. There is no way to understand the quality of the Lord rather than following the bhakti process. If we will do the devotional service without a tinge of a material desire, and then we understand that serving is the prime principle for the human life, that's the ultimate goal of the life, then only we can understand the Lord qualities with our qualification. And that devotee of the Lord, in this process, following this process by hearing, chanting, glory, associating with the devotee, glorifying the devotee and Lord, he will get the pleasure, and then he will live the life happily one after another. And then he get purified, and then eventually he can go back to Godhead. Prabhupada had mentioned in the purport, the jugglers and magician cannot understand this because they may think it's all mythology. And only devotee of the Lord can understand the glorification of opulences of the Lord. And devotee in any circumstances, devotee of the Lord, either a bad circumstances or a good circumstances, devotee, whatever happened with the devotee, he understands the mercy of the Lord. If it's anything good happen, it's a mercy of the Lord. If anything bad happen, that too is a mercy of the Lord, because that provides the purification to the devotee. And that's where he can grow more into the bhakti life. In the text 40, Maitreya Muni is saying, even the world, mind, and ego, and they are the controlling deity of the world, mind, and ego, correct? Controlling demigod, has failed to achieve the success in knowing the Supreme Personality of God. It's very difficult for them also, if demigod also, to know the glory, achieve success, to know the Lord completely. Then what is the process then? What is the possibility for us? So what Maitreya Muni is saying, then we have to surrender. We need to respectfully do the obeisances to the spiritual master. We need to respectful obeisances to the Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead. We need to surrender to him. That is the only solution for us. There is no other solution, because even demigod can't understand the glories and potencies of the Lord. So to be very honest here, one has to follow, Prabhupada has mentioned, one has to follow the footstep of our great acharyas, what they have done, because what our spiritual master has already seen the truth, our Guru Parampara has already seen the truth, that there is no other way. There is no other way other than following the devotional service, following the service, the lotus feet of the Lord and Guru Parampara. Even we can get the inspiration from the devotees like Maitreya Muni, Maharaj Parikshit, Sukadev Goswami, and other Goswami, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, so that we can get the inspiration and get engaged ourselves in the transcendental devotional service of the Lord. That is the ultimate goal of our life, and that's where we can get the Bhagwan realization, which is, above to the Brahman and Paramatma realization. I think I would like to stop here by respecting the time. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. That's the end of this chapter, the creation of the universal form. Please forgive me for any mistake. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you, Himanshu Prabhuji. Let's offer obeisances. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Let's offer our obeisance to all the devotees of the Lord. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kupasindubhyevacha paditana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for a wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.